Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In this week's episode, we still have the three projects in the shop that we've always had along. We've got the 33 chassis here for the 33 coupe. We got the 32 5-window coupe, and we got the camera lady's 32 Roadster in the other building. The main focus right now is to try and get the 33 chassis ready to have the body put on it. I need to finish up the exhaust. I need to put the emergency brake cables onto it. The ones that came with it are short ones. I've bought a universal set where I will attach them and put a bracket forward here. The gas tank also has to come so that we can put the final roading of the exhaust underneath the gas tank. Don't know if we'll be in this episode or not, but the goal is to have all of that stuff, and the brake lines too, done so that this chassis will go back to the owner. He's going to put the body on the chassis. He wants to paint up the frame here himself. He'll put the good Hemi engine into it. So essentially we'll do this. It'll go out. He puts the body, the engine into it, and then it'll come back here. In between all of that, while this is out, he's got another project that's going to go over in this bay, which we'll introduce when it comes. But anyways, the point being, the main focus is on this. Get this stuff done on the 33 chassis. If I get stopped for any reason, I'm going to work on the wood over on the driver's side there around that rear window. The wood is good itself, but what I want to do is fix the chop up here so that I can permanently put the wood in place. And then if there's any other time left over, we'll do some more stuff on the assembly of the camera lady's 32 Roadster. So anyway, follow along. We're working on 32 and 33 Fords again. So kind of continuing off where we left off last week, which was trying to finish off the exhaust on a 33 Ford Coupe chassis. The one thing I had left to do was finish off this one tailpipe and then mount it to the frame the same way that we did the other side. We've got the triangular shaped rubber hangers there. I used some 3/8 course bolts to bolt it into the frame because we don't really have the room to put them, slide them over the hangers. This works. And it's very secure. We've got a triple hanger there and a single hanger here. And then we've used these 3 band clamps, one there, one here, and one there so we can take it apart later. Like I said in the last episode, I'm not going to extend the pipes out past the spreader bar yet because I need to get the gas tank in there. I still may have to drop those pipes a little lower or tilt them lower to come out underneath the gas tank. The owner wants the pipes coming out the back, so we'll do that for him, but we need the gas tank in place in order to sort that final bit out. The other thing, I'm waiting on some urethane bushings for the panhard bar. I ordered them from Welder Series. Should be in this week. We'll carry on with that. So next up, the next thing I can work on is I'm going to replace these original style e-brake cables with this universal kit, which basically is to a cut to fit length. We've got all the brackets here and everything else, so we're going to get those in place. Relatively straightforward thing to do. I'm not sure yet where the e-brake handle is going to go, but it's going to go in this area. It's either going to be a lever type or one you pull from the floor. So the plan right now is to mount it to this vertical piece here. So we'll have a bracket with the 2 cables going into it. And I think we should be able to run the e-brake cables along the ladder bars or most of the way till we get to this point here. So anyway, I'll go to work on that and I'll show you how we get that in place. Well, so far I thought the e-brake cables going in was going to be simple and straightforward, but it looks as though because of, I guess, the position of the rear end in the frame and where the drive shaft is, I'm finding it difficult to go over the drive shaft. So what I've done, I don't have a drive shaft, so I have a piece of masking tape laying out where the drive shaft is going to go. What I think we're going to have to do is go from the driver's side drum across. I'll put a little tab or whatever to hold the e-brake cable against the rear diff, and then I'll twin these up with some clamps along the way up into here. because the drive shaft is actually going to come up quite high, which actually leads me into another correction I think we're going to have to make. I think I'm going to have to cut out this 1x2 and replace it with a flat bar, which, if I remember with all of my other cars I've done, all the Brookfield chassis we have, there is a flat plate, a 1/4 inch plate that goes across the top there, because there's not a lot of room, there's not a lot of clearance. You don't need a lot for the drive shaft. I don't think it's going to touch even when it hits full suspension movement, but I think just to be safe, I think we're going to cut that top piece out, put a piece of flat plate in, and give that just a little bit of extra clearance for the drive shaft, just in case it moves. So anyway, this is an evolution thing. We made this cross member based upon a TCI chassis. We scaled it off of a drawing. It is very strong, very practical, because you can feed the brackets in, but I'm going to make our own little tweaks here to suit our particular setup with engine, transmission, and rear end. So progressing on the e-brake cables, just going to have to make a couple adjustments here. So today I did decide to replace that upper cross member. It just wasn't enough clearance for the drive shaft for me. Now we've got a little more than, I would say, probably 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches clearance, which is plenty. It's never going to angle up and touch that cross member, but with the 1 inch thick one that I took out here, I think it was just a little bit too close. It wasn't touching. Maybe it would never touch, but you know, if the car came down hard on the back end, maybe it would. So just for safety's sake, we replaced it with a flat 1/4 inch thick bar, 3 inches wide across the top. I mean, it's kind of common to do that on a lot of these chassis, especially the aftermarket ones. So we're doing it here too. So now I am going to feed the emergency brake cables through, going to clamp them to the rear housing, cut them off to length here, and then put the back wheels back on, and we're going to go on to the next thing. So there's the final routing of the e-brake cable. I said coming off of the driver's side, I just put a clamp on the back of the pinion there. That way we can route it along the ladder bar and up to this point. That way we keep the e-brake cable away from the spinning drive shaft. I've got it mounted in place right now. I do have the clevis in place here, but I'm assuming that we're either gonna, like I said, have a handle attached to the transmission or an e-brake handle in the floor, one of those tall ones with the buttons on top. I've left enough of the cable attached here so that we can adjust this later on once I get that. But e-brake cables are in place right now. Next up, we will work on probably putting some of the brake lines on. I've got some flex hoses and some lines. Still waiting on a flex hose for the back. The intention on this, he wants to run a master cylinder off of the firewall. So the master cylinder will be up off of higher than what the braking system is, so we won't have to use residual valves on that. So it should be a simpler one than what we do, but that will come later. Like I said, we're just going to keep on pushing along with the different things to get this to the point to send it back for him to put the body back on the chassis. Like I said, he's going to do the paint touch up on the frame. That's what he wants to do. So anyways, we're going to carry on with the next thing. Well, today I'm going to do a couple little things to the Camera Ladies Roadster. We've still got lots to do over on the 33 chassis and the 32 5-window. But one thing we're trying to do is just every week pick away at this, that, or the other thing, and basically move the Roadster towards the finish line without committing all of our time on it. I mean, we've got about 3 months of winter here, so lots of time to get everything done if I just do something every week. Now, a couple things in the trunk I'm missing. There's a little latch that goes here that this catch hooks up against. And then also there's some drains that go at the bottom of these trunk drains. Like there's a little box I've made up. I'll show you those when I go to the other garage, how we made them up. We're going to put those in. Now, this little catch is a relatively easy thing. I think it's all of like $15 US from Roadster Supply, or a bunch of number of other people. Vintique stamps them out. But one of the things, if you live outside of the US, like we do in Canada, by the time I buy it and I ship it and everything else, I'm going to basically shell out like $50. So it's something I can make, I guess is the point, only because I've made it before. So I have my sample piece here. I've made up. It's basically made up of 1/8 steel plate. I made these up a while ago, and it's going to fit in there just like that. And I made a little pattern up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over, I'm going to lay that out on a piece of 1/8 plate. We're going to cut it out, and we're going to bend it up to shape like that, because I need to make 2 more of these. Ellie's Coupe needs one, and I always like to keep one up on the shelf, because if I ever have to make it again, then I got something to copy it off of. But like I said, if you live in the States, it makes sense just to go order it for the amount of time that it takes to bend this thing up. But like for us that live outside and have to pay for taxes, tariffs, and all that kind of transportation stuff, it's quite easy to make this little thing up. So there's about 6 or 7 minutes of time lapse, hopefully close enough of what it takes to make these little latches. Really, like, it's not that difficult. And like I said, if you can buy them for $13, then I would suggest it. But if not, they're not that difficult to make. If you have a pattern to go off of and some measurements. Fortunately, like I said, I had one in the past. I made a copy, so we'll just keep making copies here whenever we need one. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to take this one, which is the one that I already fitted to the car. I'm going to put a coat of black paint onto it and then get it ready to put in the Camera Ladies Roadster. One point is when you do buy these, sometimes you do have to adjust this bar up or down a little bit, and you kind of have to put it in the car, close the door latch, climb inside, and then look and see where the little hook from the trunk lid kind of catches with this, because it might go a little high, a little low, and you have to adjust accordingly. So anyways, we'll put some black paint on this, put it in the Camera Ladies Roadster a little later, and I'll go to work on the drains right now. Next up on the Camera Ladies Roadster, I want to put some drains that basically collect the water from the deck lid here. I mentioned it earlier. So I've made like a little square pocket or whatever that catches the water here, and will drain it out through the bottom of the floor. These are the little things I've made up. You can buy them. Forget who makes them in that, but I don't know if it's Roadster Supply or Brookville Roadster that makes something like this, but it's basically a little catch can with a, I think that's a 3/8 tube brazed on the bottom. And where it goes is, if you can see there, right there. It goes in the bottom, and then there's a rubber tube that we put through the floor to drain the water out. So there's one on each side. They're screwed in place. And what I did, I used some seam sealer to seal. You're not going to be able to see it very well here, but I used seam sealer to seal it up against here. And then again, seam sealer to seal the rubber against the floor. So what that'll do is that water will not collect on the inside of the trunk. So there's a close-up. Right there. That's what it looks like when it's installed. And this is what they look like when I made them. Now, since then, they get a little rust onto them. Those ones that are in there now, I cleaned them up and put a couple coats of armor coat or trim clad black paint onto them, and they're going to do the trick. So one more thing done on the Camera Ladies Roadster. Oh, we got one more little piece of bling come in a couple weeks ago, trying to decide where to put the coil. I didn't want to mount it on the engine. I actually wanted to have it vertical. And then I came across this little coil, finned aluminum coil holder, which kind of looked a little nostalgic, kind of old school hot rod. Was debating on putting it over on this side. I actually wanted to mount it closer to the distributor, but look what's here. We've got the automatic transmission dipstick. So if I mounted it here, I wouldn't be able to get the dipstick out. So, and I know real hot rods have 3 pedals, but we're running an automatic here, so it's going to look like a hot rod, but it won't shift like one. But we're going to enjoy it just the same. So anyways, point being, that meant that we had to put the coil on this side out of the way. So it just was 2 1/4 bolts that went through the firewall. Finally decided where to put them, and drilled the holes, put it in, and then cut myself up a new coil wire. Didn't hook these wires up just yet because we haven't pulled out the wiring kit. But anyway, one more little thing out of a box, off the shelf, and onto the Camera Ladies Roadster. So that was a time lapse of me taking the body off the frame. The owner wants to take the frame back, sandblast it, do a little bit of body work to it, start working on its suspension and everything else. We originally needed the frame just basically to reconstruct the body. Right now the body is all sound and square relative to the frame. All it's left to do is some cosmetic stuff around the chop, and then install the wood. The structural wood, there's only two pieces of it. It goes above the doors, connects the A and the B pillar. The rest of it's just there for some rigidity in the body and also for nailing strips for upholstery. So what we'll do is we'll carry on working on Ellie's coupe on the body. There's lots more to do. And then he's gonna take his frame back and do some more work on that. I think it's gonna come back for me to put the engine and a transmission in it, because when he bought this frame, there wasn't a notch cut out there for the drive shaft, and there isn't a transmission mount. So I think what'll happen once he's done the body work and stuff, it's going to come back and we'll do that work onto it for him afterwards. But anyway, he's all ready to go back. He's going to have something to do over the next few weeks. We still have lots more to do on the body. So anyways, this is moving on with Ellie's coupe project. That's it for another week of Coldstream Rod Shop. We worked on the 32 Roadster this week. We got a couple things done for the deck lid and for the trunk area. Got a few more things done on the 33 chassis, to the point where we're waiting for some more parts to come in to go a little further. And then on Ellie's coupe, the owner wanted to get the chassis back. I mean, the body is completely stabilized now. We reconstructed everything over the past several months. So it was perfectly fine to take the body off and stick it on the dolly that we had the Roadster body on. I still got to bolt a couple things down there to tighten stuff up, but for the time being, I can now move this around and it actually takes up less room. So got a little bit of space here right now, although I pushed a bunch of stuff over there. What we'll do next, we'll probably work a little bit more on the chop and some of the wood. Some more parts are coming in for the 33, so next week we'll work on that. And there's a couple more things I've got on a list to work on the Camber Lady's Roadster. So anyways, we're pushing all of the projects forward. Nothing's finished yet, but that's another week of Coldstream Rod Shop. So please like, share, tag, and subscribe. Come on back next week, and everybody have a great week. Take care.